What's up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview. Every single week, we interview top entrepreneurs and just straight up top badasses that are out there dominating their space. So today, live in the studio, I've got a great friend of mine that I've known for years. Her business is just absolutely on fire. So really stoked and honored to have Raquel Quinet on the show today. Welcome to the show, Raquel.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
Yeah, this is badass, dude. So you're doing a lot of big things, man. You got a massive, very successful real estate team, plus some other new exciting things that are going on in your world. But before we get into what's going today or happening today, let's rewind the clocks. Okay. You know, like high school, college. What led you into entrepreneurship, essentially?
I think it actually just happened at a really young age because my parents were immigrants and they were business. My dad was a business owner, so seeing him run a business inspired me to go, one day I want to run a company. And then from there, it was, high school, being involved in sports, student government, and then obviously working. Because I never wanted to rely on my parents just because I knew how hard they had worked to make it here in America. I never wanted to rely on them for anything. So I was out of all of our siblings, I was that one that was like, okay, I'm not going to ask you guys for a dime. I wanted to fund my own college. I wanted to fund my own car. And so, I think junior year, I had 3 jobs at once just to go, okay, because I never wanted to hear that answer of, we can't afford it.
Yeah. So when I first met you, you were an office manager at Keller Williams. I think it was Zalesnik, or what was his name?
Ryan Zalesnik.
Yeah, he came in. He was a guest speaker. And I don't know. I mean, that was 6-7 years ago. So, what led you into the real estate business? I mean, you're because then you were an office manager. Then I know you transitioned into becoming an agent, and now are a very, very successful agent and team leader. What kind of led you into that path?
Well, right after high school, you watch those shows, and there was that Carlton Sheets that says how to flip properties. And I was in college at the time, so I was like, oh, that seems like a pretty neat, cool idea that seems really easy. So what happened was my brother was actually watching the show, and a box comes to our house, and basically it's all this Carlton Sheet stuff. So I open it. I didn't even order it. I open it. I look at everything. I take the little test, and I'm like, okay, before I start asking people for money, maybe I should know what real estate's all about. So I really got into real estate to invest, and because I was so young, I wanted to really find out what it was to buy a property, and then what it was what it took to sell a property, and so that I could talk to people and ask them for capital, right? So I didn't know. So the first thing I did was get my real estate license. And I didn't know that once you pass the test, and it was in California, every single broker calls you and goes, do you want to work for me? And at the time I was doing cellular phone sales, and I'm thinking, oh, I got all these job offers. Little did I know, it was all commission.
Right.
So that was a wake-up call. So, I hang my license at our big brokerage in Union City, which was ERA at the time. And, I was working with a lot of my friends' parents, and I was only 19. So I was the little kid in the office, and everyone's like, what are you doing here? And at that time, we didn't have a lot of young people. A lot of them were, in 99, a lot of them were older. A lot of them were our friends' parents, my friends' parents, and they're just like, you're the age of my son or my daughter. And so that kind of propelled me to have that drive and that motivation to go, you know what, let's partner, let's ask people what, all the successful agents, I just kind of hung out with them. I was like, what made them so successful? And I didn't use age as a barrier in this business. So did real estate for about 8 years out in California. We moved to different companies because there was always another opportunity. And during that time in 04, 05, we were presented with, because we were doing the volume, so we were presented by lots of mortgage companies to basically do all of our mortgages for our team, and we opened up a mortgage company. And then I had a little baby, and I was like, okay, this is going crazy. This is nuts. I got to be a mom now. And so what happened is we had investments. So we started investing in real estate, and I had investments here in Arizona and in Nevada. So we started looking at, we've lived in the Bay Area all our life. What would it look like if we lived in Nevada or in Arizona? We obviously, my husband and I obviously knew that Nevada and Vegas probably wasn't the greatest place to, no offense, to raise, our son.
Right, yeah.
So then we looked at Arizona, and that's how we got here. We bought a house here in '06. And then we were like, okay, what are we going to do out there? What do we do with our book of business here? So that was a huge transition. And then I had no idea that the market was going to crash a year later.
Yeah.
You didn't warn me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I didn't know either, dude. I think we all saw it slowing down, but I think, dude, nobody predicted it to get as gnarly as it did. It was insane. So one quick question though, I have a lot of young realtors that reach out, like 18, 19 years old, that are like, hey, dude, I can't even shave yet. How do I get people to take me serious? To go out there and make those big purchases, So what were some of the things that you did to overcome that? I mean, you're 19, you're young. I mean, how did you overcome some of those challenges?
First of all, there's no doubt about it. When I walked in the door, I look young. So my broker, luckily I had great mentors, and they were like, you need to cut your hair, you need to drive a different car. They were, because my high school car was a 3000 GT. It was like one of those race rocket things. I'm like, okay, I can't show properties in this. So they actually coached me through it, and they said, learn as much as you can. So when you speak with confidence. So I would say first things first is probably learn as much as you can, and then speak with confidence. Fake it till you make it is what I heard growing up in this business.
Yep. Awesome. I
still feel like I'm growing up.
Yeah, no, I love it. So one thing that I love about you, and I've loved watching with your real estate career, is you transitioned very well with the markets. Right? So you were a very successful traditional agent, a lot of investments, all of that going on before the market crashed. But then you transitioned well into REO short sales. And then that ends, and you've transitioned very well into the traditional business. And we see, there's very few realtors that have been able to do that successful. It's like either somebody's a rock star here, and then they're a one-hit wonder.
And then where are they?
Yeah, so, what are some things that you do to kind of pay attention to make sure that, because it's all about who can adapt the fastest,
right?
Right, to make those transitions. Kind of walk us through, how'd you go from traditional to REO, and then back from REO back into traditional?
Well, I think it was, being a team leader over like 200 to 300 agents and teaching them about, who dominates the market. It was REOs and short sale agents at the time in, 2007. And then but a lot of them did not, how like you speak to agents and then it goes in one ear and out the other. And they're like, it's too hard, it's too difficult. So I got into the REO game very, very late. 2010 I thought was really late. People had already been dominating that space, but I wasn't willing to give up. So after that, you start to get less assignments from your banks. I basically followed trends. And so what I started seeing was like, okay, our business we're not getting 17 assignments a day. Like now we're getting 10, now we're getting 7. So we've definitely have to either reach out to our banks, see is it a performance problem or what's going on. And they have a lot of knowledge. And so they were saying that we're not getting the assets that we were getting. We started seeing people get laid off, your asset managers. And I was like, okay, we've got to invest some money into marketing. We need to invest our money back into farming. So we went back into what started me in the business, which was traditional real estate.
Yeah. So, what do you start doing? What are some of those activities that you started doing to build up your traditional business?
I basically went to the people that were dominating in the traditional space, and I'm like, okay, what's the majority of your business? Is it referrals? Is it farming? How did you start? And then you start looking at farms, and you start looking at, what's the turnover rate over there, and do I invest? How much money do I invest, and how long am I willing to invest to get that return? So. Yep. It's really all about different formulas.
Yep, love it. So I know you're a systems person. You kind of got me into systems. I was actually just telling Lindsay this story
Dropbox.
of well, yeah, but and then now it's evolved to now I'm got a lot of different things, but so you walk into my office like 3 or 4 years. I don't know how many years ago.
Oh my God, it must have been a fire hazard. Like I could have put a match and the whole thing would have blew up.
Oh yeah, we had hundreds of files, old school, and you're like, dude, you're not paperless. I'm like, I'm talking paperless. Like, what does that mean? Right? So you come in and you help train our staff, which is amazing for you to do. But I know you're big into systems. Mm-hmm. What are some of your favorite systems that you're using right now that are really working well for you?
What systems are we not using? One thing that we'll do is we'll always test a ton of systems. If we know that top agents are using it, there's a reason why they're using it, so let's test it out. Our dialer is Mojo. We use Boomtown. We still utilize Dropbox because it's on everybody's cell phone. We use a lot of Google products. And we use different CRMs for different things. I wish there was one CRM for everything that we did.
Yeah.
And right now, for us, it's really focusing, because my time is now limited, is how do we automate everything?
Yep. Love it. So what does your team look like today?
Today I've got Jenny, who's been with me for 7 years. She's pretty much everything. She's the real Raquel, is what I tell people. She's my EA. She's transitioning out of that, and she's going to be our operations manager for the region. And then we've got 4 brand new buyers agents and listing agents. They do both.
Awesome, dude. So and then you recently had an opportunity to take on kind of another role in addition to running your team within Keller Williams. Tell us about that.
So there's this big buzzword of expansion teams, of taking the team and franchising your team to multiple markets. And we kind of did that before expansion really happened with REOs. We knew that Arizona and Nevada and Florida were like dominating that space, and then it was slowly shifting. And so we made those connections to be able to partner with other people in different states. But with expansion, it's basically we've got this hub, if I would say, and we've got a lead gen hub and an admin hub. So that's all off of our plate. And it's really just to go find some talent in different markets and give them appointments.
So when you say franchise, what does that look like? Is it a legitimate franchise? People are just stroking a check, or you get a percentage of the commission? What does that expansion franchise?
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily it's a franchise, but it's pretty much like the franchise model of real estate brokerages without the bricks and mortars.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't have the leases, you don't have the hard costs of the copy machines, the phone systems, or anything like that. You're basically placing agents in market centers that are already existing.
Yep. Love it. One question I get a lot from listeners and even from coaching clients that are entrepreneurs, right? But they're moms, and they're like, and I think it's different. I think it's different for girls compared to guys, right? I think there's I don't know what it is, but for me, it's I can go out there and grind 15 hours a day, and I don't have that guilt. I see my kids every night, but I don't have that guilt that right. I know my wife would have, or a lot of women entrepreneurs have. They just feel torn of, I want to go out there and create this successful business, but I also want to be a great parent. And I know you're really involved in your kids' lives. You're an awesome mother, awesome wife. How do you do it? How do you stay focused and keep growing these successful businesses and make sure that you're there?
I think first things first is you got to have your whole family on board and support you like no other when you take on a new role or a new business, or you open up a business, and they've been awesome at it. My husband's been extremely awesome. My kids understand what my role is and why I travel, just that would be the first thing. And then really, being empowered, in control of your time. I get up really early, and people think I'm crazy. Not as crazy as 3 a.m., but I get up at 4 o'clock.
That's awesome.
To get my fitness out of the way, right? To get my meditation out of the way. And so I think it's just being really strict with your time and saying no to a lot of things.
Yeah. So let's talk about daily routines, dude, because every successful person that I know pretty much has a daily routine. If you haven't read the book, it's actually called Daily Routines by Tim Ferriss, where he goes out there and creates a book of the 400 most brilliant minds that ever existed. And each page is just a one page of their daily routine, which is pretty massive. You get Mozart and all these people in there. What does that look like for you?
So I get up at 4:20, hit the gym. And I'm there for an hour and a half, and then I come home, make breakfast, do lunches, get the kids ready, because by then it's 6 o'clock, and it's you're rushing them to get to school. They also have checklists, so my kids have a morning checklist and a night checklist, so I'm not having to yell and go, come on, let's get ready. We've gone through all of that, and really what I've done is all the mistakes and all the things that we kept repeating, we're okay, we're doing a checklist. We're doing another system.
Yep.
And then I get to the office and, I get on a conference call with my team, and we do a daily huddle. We report numbers, we track numbers, and then we kind of lead generate in the morning. And then we're, doing appointments in the afternoon. Yep. And then after work, it's taking the kids and getting them to practice. Yep. Every day there's a practice.
Because you got 2 boys, right?
I got 2 boys and 4 sports.
Yep, that's crazy. Yep, I love it. Okay, what do you do personally to set goals, right? Because good becomes the worst enemy to greatness. Mm-hmm. And it's so easy to get caught up in good enough. You could very easily start scaling way back and be good, right? Like money would be good coming in. You could start, relaxing more, but you keep driving, you keep pushing, you keep leveling up. What do you do personally in a goal set to make sure that you're not getting comfortable?
I think one of my biggest fears is being complacent. So making sure that I'm never complacent and that I'm always growing, because they say, what, if you're not growing, you're dying. And I would say I probably have a ton of coaches around me. There's times where I train with somebody that's an hour away, but I do that purposely, so that I go and get up and get ready, and then I'm listening to audiobooks or I'm on conference calls. So I do have a lot of coaches and a lot of mentors that keep me accountable, and then I have my team that keeps me accountable.
So what does self-development look like for you? Like on a daily basis, kind of like walk us through that.
Self-development is, first of all, you got to know what your goals are. And one of the things that I'm truly blessed is that, number one, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and then, I've got a team that I'm responsible for. So to me, it's always having gratitude and always, because anything can go away. And me and my husband have gone through that, through the loss, through the downturn of the market. So we always got to, basically remind ourselves, be humble and go, we're truly blessed to have the life that we live today.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite, like if you could recommend like 2 or 3 books? And I hate getting asked this question myself, because it's like, dude, there's so many. Can I just give you my whole Audible thing?
What
are some of your top reads, or maybe even the top reads that you've read this year that you recommend?
I would say, first things first is probably The Miracle Morning. The compound effect, the little things that you do daily that compound to big things. And then right now it's like rocket fuel, being the visionary and the integrator.
Yeah.
So that's just what I'm listening to right now.
Yep. Badass, dude. Badass. So, when you're, and I know you talked about gratitude, but in addition to your goal setting, well, let's go back into goal setting, because I think right now, we're starting to enter 2016. Mm-hmm. If people, any entrepreneur out there, anybody really that wants to create an epic life, like they need to have a plan. What does your goal setting personally look like? How are you setting goals? How often are you reviewing the goals? Do you set goals that you're just reviewing yourself, or do is it a team?
We set goals and we review with our coaches and our team. Just depends on what the goal is. Even like a fitness goal, it's with my, with somebody that mentors me, because I want to be accountable to somebody. And I think even like I've got some friends that have competed, and now knowing about that business, I have so much more respect for them. I'm like, it takes massive
Do you get
discipline.
into a competition?
No, but it takes massive discipline to get up there and, do all that hard work and have somebody judge you.
Right.
And you have cheat meals, but it's pretty strict, especially your last couple weeks of competition. So I give it up to all those people that compete at a really high level and put their body through that, because it's not easy by any means.
Yeah.
Especially right now during the holidays.
Yeah, we've got a couple teammates that actually, one of them that's doing a show in Mesa this weekend that I'm going to go out to and
Nice.
support them. And yeah, it's a gnarly sport, dude. I did one bodybuilding competition.
Did you?
It was when I was in high school, teenage Mr. Michigan.
Nice.
But it is nuts. What you go through and what you put your body through. And then it's not even just that. Then you got to get up on stage and you're like pretty much fucking naked, right in front of like thousands of people, and you're like, okay,
totally
this is yeah. So no, what are some of the? Because you're not only are you a very successful real estate agent, a very successful team leader, but you've also been in positions where you oversee and train and have taught hundreds and hundreds of agents. Mm-hmm. We have a 90% failure rate in this business.
That's
every
shocking.
3 years. Well, but you look at it, it's the same for all of entrepreneurship, right? Mm-hmm. In the entrepreneur world, it's 90% fall within 5 years. Real estate just happens a little bit quicker. What do you feel like some of the biggest mistakes are that agents are making that cause them to fail?
I think number one is discipline. Not being, being your own boss is one thing, but I think a lot of the agents, what I've seen in the last 16 years of being in this industry, is they're not consistent. They make these schedules, they're there, or they come back from these conferences, or they're pumped up, or they've heard something and they're totally pumped up, and it lasts probably 3 days, 4 days, and then, they get back into their mindset. I don't think a lot of people have that hustle muscle, what do you call it? Drive to really just go, you know what, I'm going to do exactly what I put on my schedule, and nothing else is going to interrupt me. And I think that, I heard this the other day, the most successful people are the ones that figured out what to focus on, regardless of the distractions that were put in front of their faces.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So then let's talk about what's working, right? Like what are you doing right now that's just crushing it for you and your team? Without, you don't have to give away all your secrets, but like what are some of the tactics that you're doing right now that is just slaying it for you guys right now?
I think for us is focusing on conversion. I've got a new agent that's been in the business 2 months and is on his 10th deal. Like, he put 2 in escrow. Number one, I think he's got drive, he's got mindset, but it's really like training them to convert those leads at a high level.
So what does that look like? Because you got according to Zillow, your average agent follows up with a lead in 40 minutes and follows up twice. Mm-hmm. And today we have to have, the average person being sold 2,000 times, that it takes more frequency than ever. What does that look like? How quickly are you following up? How many times are you guys having to follow up to convert at a higher level?
We follow up within the first 5 minutes, and I will tell you that the most common thing that we get is, I can't believe you called back. And for our agents, it's, call them back, see what they want. We obviously have the LP Mama. It's like, there's no like rocket science to this. It's just doing the work, and then go connect with them, meet with them, and convert. Yep. Because the first person I think that's going to meet with them, and that connects with them, that's going to be their client.
Right. Well, and the stats show it. Like NAR shows right now, 72% of sellers are interviewing one agent, and 66% of buyers are going the first agent they meet with in person. So love it. So I've got a couple last questions for you, but before we jump into those, how do people learn more about you? How do people reach out to you? Or maybe they're interested in talking to you about getting involved with one of the expansion teams. Where do they go, and how would somebody reach you?
I would say Raquel Quinet at 5doors.com. And then our office line is 623-298-4444.
So with 5 Doors, with that expansion team, if I wanted to go buy one, right, or get involved with one, does that agent then keep their name, their brand? Essentially, they're just really paying for the systems.
There is definitely an option.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like right now, with what we're doing at 5 Doors, our mission is to create generational wealth, not only for our employees, our admin people, but our clients as well. So it's just creating more and more opportunities. Yep. It's like, you get to some of the people that I'm in business with, it's like, okay, so I'm number one in my market, now what? Let's go start impacting lives.
Yep. How, you talked about meditation. And I'm a meditation guy too. Like, I love to meditate. What are maybe some like your favorite meditation? What do you do when you meditate? What are some of your favorite routines?
Okay, time out. Okay, well, I think first thing is, just getting quiet time. When you got 2 young ones, yep. it's you've got to have your Zen space. So we've got this courtyard that I'm like, okay, this is like Raquel's, they've got their man cave because I've got 3 boys, with my husband. And so my courtyard is that's me. And so, it's basically just having that, quiet time, and really, being grateful for everything, and then journaling.
Okay, awesome. All right, dude, so something happens and you get financially wiped out. Like, all this goes away. You have your health, family's great, all that's good. You've retained all the knowledge that you've learned over this whole entire journey of being an entrepreneur and creating all the success that you've created. But again, you get all wiped out and you have to start all over again with little to no resources. Let's just say $500. What are some of the first few things you'd immediately go out there to do, knowing what you know now, to rebuild this empire that you built?
I would leverage, because I have no resources, I'd probably go and join a team and leverage, because I don't have expenses, I don't have salaries, I don't have any marketing costs, and I know what I need to do, so I'd probably do that to get, a paycheck within the first 30 days.
Yeah, awesome. Now, I know that you travel a lot, right? Mm-hmm. So you travel a lot for different events, different networking events. How important do you think that is for real estate agents to get out there and network? And then what are some of the biggest things that you get out of it?
Well, I travel a lot for a nonprofit, and it's my way of giving back to our industry, to the community. And I do network a lot. We do get a ton of referrals because of it, and I feel that some of those opportunities that we've had in the past, came from, from traveling, from meeting different people out of our market.
Yeah, but you also hit up a lot of conferences and different things that are obviously paid educational events. How many do you try to hit a year, and how impactful do you feel that those are in your business?
I don't have a goal of what I try to set every year. I just know that I go to certain events, and I think I get a lot, not necessarily at the event. So what I learned in the last couple of years is there are events that happen, but there's also side conversations that happen outside of that event. Yeah. And that's where I learn the most, or the dinner conversations, or even the happy hour conversations. And we're just, talking about business, how you do this, how you do that. Shoot me an email, come visit my office, that's where I think the learning really happens, is when you can connect with high-minded people like yourself that, you get like numbers, or you get systems, or you get like what makes you guys more productive today.
Awesome. So what's the plans for 2016? What's next for, like, where do you want to take this? I mean, how big are you guys going to go? Where do you see this going?
Well, for 2016, it's pretty much growing, and I love the fact that we have like this nationwide platform that we, can go and get talent from a lot of places. And I would say, again, what's interesting is that my first one turned 10, and I'm like, oh my gosh, 8 years, he's going to be out of the house. He's going to college. I think it hit me more so this year than it ever has.
Yeah, 8 birthdays left.
I know, and I was talking to him about yesterday, and really just trying to be there for them, because I feel like the first 10 years went by so fast while we were growing different businesses, and it's like, okay, that, there's parameters and priorities that I set around my kids' sports that is like non-negotiable for me.
Yeah, what do you do, because especially, and I see this hardcore moms, right? Like, because you're busy with your kids, you're busy with your business, you get to a point where like there is no you time, right? So I mean, what do you do? I mean, there are certain things that you do for you time to kind of just get a break for yourself and reset and recharge yourself.
I think that's why I work out.
Yeah.
To like relieve that stress, to have that that me time, and then obviously it's important to have your date nights as well, right? Like you can't lose sight of that, because I feel like even in that family, that's like it's still a partnership. As husband and wife, because you're running one way with the one kid, and then you're running another way. Then you got games. I mean, like all Saturday we've got tournaments, games back to back, and it's like Sunday we're like catching up of like grocery shopping and meal planning and all that stuff. It's like my kids are really busy, so people kind of sometimes go, well, is that a lot of pressure on them? And I feel that they see us work hard, and until their grades start slipping, because they're 4.0 students and play 2 sports, so then that's when we're going to give them that option of, okay, do we need to take a break?
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that we get them involved in everything, and then they find their passion.
Yep.
Rather than them just playing video games.
Yep. Love it. Awesome. So, this podcast was really designed there's, especially in the real estate industry, there's more information available than any other business that exists with the least performing people. Mm-hmm. And it's because there's so much junk information. Right. Right? It's from a lot of people that are not the doers. Mm-hmm. There are people that study the doers. Right. You get all these trainers out there that have never even sold real estate. And it's just, so I wanted to create this to be able to interview the doers, people that are creating massive success in their world, deliver that to people that are trying to grow their business, give them tactical information, but also give them inspiration and motivation to go out there and create their own epic life. It's really sad that 97% of people on this planet live and die mid-mediocrity, and hopefully this podcast helps inspire some to overcome that. So with that being said, what are maybe some last words of inspiration and motivation that you want to leave our listener base with to go out there and create their own epic life like you're doing? Because, dude, I mean, we deserve it. And we can do it. What are maybe some of those last words of encouragement?
I think first things first is we have an awesome industry where there's no ceiling. I mean, at corporate America, I feel like there's always been a ceiling. Real estate is like you could do so many different things, and it could also be a vehicle to do other businesses. I mean, it's like endless. And I say just be the best person that you can be, because it can afford you plenty of things in life that you could, and friendships and relationships that you would have never thought you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. Powerful words. All right, to our listeners out there, I know we end every single podcast with this, but information without implementation is the start of delusion. Information is not power. It's taking that information, taking massive action on it, executing on it, that creates power in your world. So you just heard from an absolute badass that's out there doing massive things in her business, in her life. Make sure that you take a couple things that Raquel talked about today, start implementing right now, today, in your business, and go out there and create that life that you know that you want and you deserve. And Raquel, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to be here, dude. This has been an awesome honor. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor.
Yeah, you got it. All right, you guys, we'll see you next time.